just won because they won. Oh, look, the police chief is here. We're all very safe. Hello, Chief, sir. Yay! There's no safer place on the planet than at Delancey Street. Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Christine Pelosi. I'm a longtime friend of Delancey Street, and like all of you, a huge fan of Dr. Mimi Silbert. Now, two of members of the Delancey family could not be here today, but I wanted to mention them. Greg and David Silbert, Mimi's twin sons, are dear friends of ours, and about 15 years ago, I was sitting with Greg and David over across the street outside at the restaurant, and I was running down a story that was very important to me, and I thought the biggest whole deal in the world. You know what I'm saying, Maple? And in the middle of this, a butterfly came and landed at our table. And we all stopped and looked, and we said, oh my God, it's almost like Mimi sent the butterfly to say, stop. Whatever you think is important isn't really all that important. Take a moment to look at a butterfly. And I thought of that story of the Silbert twins, as I call them, and me and the butterfly because it reminds me so much of Delancey Street. When you think about a butterfly, the beginning is not very auspicious. In fact, it's very dark and cold and sticky and awful in the middle of the cocoon. And after a whole lot of molting, a beautiful butterfly emerges. And isn't that like the spirit of Delancey Street, where there's a lot of cocoons and a lot of molting and eventually a field of butterflies. Now, when you're going through it, the addiction, the homelessness, the prison, the pain that you've inflicted on yourself and others, you think there is no way that I'm ever going to be a butterfly. In fact, some people think it's an impossible dream. But anyone who knows Delancey Street and anyone who knows Mimi Silbert knows that she makes the impossible possible. And to represent that in song, please welcome the Delancey Street Choir.
To dream the
for the Delancey Street Choir. Now, we actually have two Mimis in my family. My husband, Bella, and my daughter, Peter, who are here, know that my mom is referred to as Mimi. And so our Mimi has written a letter to our other Mimi, or the way my life works, my mother wrote a letter to my Jewish mother. And you know what I'm talking about. And so I wanted to read it today. Dear Mimi, thank you for the opportunity to join the Port of San Francisco, your Delancey Street family, coworkers, friends, and many admirers to dedicate the Dr. Mimi Silbert Pathway that represents our city's tremendous gratitude for your inexhaustible service helping people overcome addiction and save their own lives. Your vision has produced miracles of people reborn and empowered to live in a way that is healthy, productive, and meaningful. Your praises have been sung, awards and degrees bestowed, books and articles written to honor your life-changing work. But this pathway will serve as a permanent reflection of your commitment to transformational justice and love for the people you serve. Thank you, Port of San Francisco and Mayor Lee, for giving this treasure to San Francisco residents and visitors alike for generations to come. Congratulations, Mimi, and thank you for your invaluable leadership and wonderful friendship. Signed, Nancy Pelosi, U.S. House Democratic Leader. And Christmas tree purchaser since 1973. Probably most important. We want to also give great thanks to the many wonderful organizations who are represented here today, the South Beach Neighborhood Association, and all the people who have helped make Delancey Street possible, which in turn is making this pathway possible. But the official vote came from the official family of San Francisco, and that, of course, is the Port. And so to speak on behalf of the Port Commission, please welcome Kimberly Brandon. Kim?
Thank you, Christine. Good afternoon, everyone. Before I start with my prepared remarks, I have to say that when I was parking across the street and I saw the Delancey Street family walking in their Sunday finest, looking so wonderful, it just filled my heart. And I mean, I just felt like crying. I was just so proud of all of you and all the work that Mimi has done with all of you. So please congratulate yourselves. And now for the prepared remarks. What a perfect afternoon for this naming ceremony. I would like to thank Port Commission President Leslie Katz and Christine Pelosi for bringing the idea of this brilliant naming opportunity resolution forward to the Commission for approval. Needless to say, it was passed unanimously. I would also like to thank Director Moyer and all the Port staff involved in making this pathway a reality, especially Tom Carter and his crew. Thank you. Mimi Silbert and the Delancey Street family have been transforming lives for over 40 years. They moved into their magnificent waterfront home in 1991, which was primarily built and supervised by the Delancey Street residents and Mimi as the developer. She directed the construction of the 370,000 square foot mixed-use development for its offices and its programs. There is nothing else in the country like this self-built, self-managed, self-help complex where residents learn to work together promoting nonviolence through a principle called each one, teach one. I'm sure you all know that well. In the process, they pioneered the growth and development of this very neighborhood. Not only has Delancey been a model for its residents, but this amazing facility has been open to the community as a place of fellowship, which you too will have a chance to experience at the end of this ceremony over at the town hall. Mimi is a very dynamic, energetic, loving force behind Delancey Street's successful rehabilitation programs. She loves a challenge, so just tell her she can't and watch the results. She enforces the principle that ordinary people can transform extraordinary, even impossible dreams into realities by pooling their resources, supporting one another, and living lives of purpose and integrity. The foundation has 6 residential facilities across the country and is frequently visited by international delegations to learn about its highly effective model. We are so fortunate to have Delancey's headquarters right here in San Francisco along our beautiful waterfront. When Mimi calls, presidents answer. When Mimi calls, prime ministers answer. When Mimi calls, governors answer, especially Governor Brown. When Mimi calls, mayors answer. Right, Mayor Lee? But most importantly, when the people, ex-felons, substance abusers, the homeless who want to build a new life call, Mimi and the Delancey Street family answer and continue to change lives against all odds. If it were up to me, we would be here naming the entire Embarcadero roadway after Mimi because she has done so much to contribute to the transformation of this area and so many lives. So on behalf of the San Francisco Port Commission, we are so proud and honored to name this area in one of our newest open spaces, the Plaza at the Brannan Street Wharf, which has encouraged so many people and dogs to come and enjoy the waterfront, directly across from the Delancey Street Foundation headquarters, an appropriate location for the pathway and the bronze plaque honoring Dr. Mimi H. Silbert. Thank you, Mimi, for all.
The Giants won today. And these fans walking the Embarcadero past this pathway get to do that here because of the work that Mimi Silbert did and Delancey Street did as the anchor tenants. I remember when they were first cutting the curbs here, and John Burton, who's with us today in spirit, and Willie Brown worked on the legislation to allow housing here. The early people, Jimmy Herman, Leroy King, our dear, dear friends at ILWU, all of the House of Labor helped build the House of Love at Delancey Street. Let us thank our friends in labor, in the labor movement, who did so much to make this possible. And representing the San Francisco Giants today is their Executive Vice President and General Counsel and a dear friend of Mimi. Please welcome Mr. Jack Bear.
Thank you, Christine. Mimi Silbert, a force of nature, dedicated, tenacious, loud, a pioneer, a visionary, warm and giving, always tan, uncommonly perceptive. She sees right through your exterior to your core. Someone who's made a real and positive difference, one of a kind, Mimi Silbert. 20 years ago, Mimi welcomed us to the neighborhood with open arms and invited us to be part of the Delancey Street family. The relationship has been mutual, genuine, and long-lasting. It is personal, loyal. She supported and campaigned for the ballpark and helped bring along some of the neighbors who feared more than they dreamed. Fast forward to today, 50 million fans, 3 World Series championships, a palpable sense of community pride and spirit that lifts our entire city and transcends all traditional barriers. And just across the street, thousands of ex-offenders, gang members, addicts, real people getting their lives together in harmony with their neighbors and emerging as teachers, contractors, chefs, community leaders. Her achievements more remarkable than any World Series victory. Larry, I'll invite you up to the stage. My boss, Larry Bear, the other bear. Today we join the Port of San Francisco in saluting you, Mimi Silbert, and the entire Delancey Street family. On behalf of Bruce Bochy, who sent a baseball down here, we would like to invite you to throw out the first pitch at an upcoming game.
Can I just say that Mimi has made many pitches in her life. She has never lost her fastball. And we expect a good, hard fastball on the mound at AT&T Park up the block. We are so thrilled, as Jack said, we go way back from day one with Mimi, and we love you very, very much.
You're throwing it. You're not getting out of it. You're throwing it.
Just aim it high and let it fly, right? Thank you, Larry Bear. How nice of him to come and honor us with his presence. Okay, you're not speaking yet. We have to dedicate. You're after the... She's going to work on that form. Our next speaker was also a big part of helping Delancey Street happen down here when he worked for the Department of Public Works and worked for the city of County of San Francisco. So he is here as a longtime supporter of Delancey Street, where it counted, actually in the guts of the bureaucracy of San Francisco, making it work so that the vision could be realized in our lives and all of you would have this wonderful place to live and learn and heal. Today, however, he is here representing the city and county of San Francisco. To have the mayor come to this moment shows the respect and esteem that he has not only for Mimi Silbert, but for each and every one of you Delancey Street residents who are putting your lives back together and helping to grow the city into a more caring, a more loving, a more united place for all of us to be. He is a visionary, he is a doer, he is a very dear friend of Delancey Street, and he's a tremendous leader for our city and our country. Please welcome Mayor Ed Lee. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Christine. Wow, happy Giants Day. It's great to be here. What a wonderful day to celebrate Dr. Mimi Silbert and your Delancey Street Foundation. Let me do what politicians do. I'm going to associate myself with all of the comments previously made and then add a few. And I like to say this, Mimi, I still remember those early days when I was a young attorney trying to find my way and see who would listen to the plight of low-income residents in Chinatown. And you and John Burton introduced me to this guy named Bill Maher, got me on a radio station to talk about people who didn't have a big name, didn't have the stage, but needed everybody else's help. And I've always remembered that you are the transformer of lives. And this is what Delancey Street means because you put it on the national map. You've created a model that is followed by New York, New Mexico, every other place that says we should invest in lives and we should not invest in incarceration. There is a way forward to transform people's lives. And we have so many analogies that we can use in sports, but I think in everyday life, it is about creating the hope and having the model that works for everyone. So I'm gracious of your history from day one. You not only give hope, you delivered on real transformation that gave people the belief that if they can do it, and people who may have been labeled as casticides, trouble can themselves be a solution. That you must invest in that. That is the way forward with life. That is what we do in this great city of St. Francis. And I learned it even more by being in Rome with Pope Francis, with 50 other international mayors just last week, how much they look to San Francisco to deliver the real things that transform people's lives. We should be proud, so proud of this city and its history. Right in the thick of it is Dr. Mimi Silbert and what she has done for the city. So I joined the Friends of the Port, the Commission, Giants, Warriors, all of you, the residents of Delancey Street, and your effort to make your lives the most possible things, not only for you and family, but for the strong communities that we must continue to invest in this city. Cannot help anybody unless you have a strong community from which you come from and people believe in each other. That's how teams win. That's how communities win. That's how cities win. And when you have coaches like Dr. Mimi Silbert, and now it's Mimi and Maple, we're going to be walking this great venue every day on a day like this. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so proud to be the mayor of people who just want to be the greatest people on earth and show what we can do when we say we love each other and we support each other and we want each other to be successful. Congratulations, Mimi. Thank you so much for everything you do for us.
If Port Commission President Leslie Katz, the mayor, and Mimi would now step over to the red carpet. We have a dedication and an unveiling, and then we'll hear from Leslie and Mimi, and then all of us are going to cut a ribbon together. So there will be a group participation. But first, we're going to do that. We're going to do that after, so everyone can be in the photo. But first, let's do this. Let us unveil the Mimi Silbert Pathway. Two years ago, Leslie Katz said to me, you know, we really need to do something to honor Mimi. I think there's a part of the port property right by Delancey Street that ought to bear Mimi's name. Well, that was 2 years ago. It took us a year to convince Mimi. And then, once her resistance was down, then we put it together and here it is. But the architect of the entire idea, the visionary behind all of this, is our very own dear friend and the president of the San Francisco Port Commission, Leslie Katz.
Thank you, Teen. So it's hard to come up with something to say that hasn't been said. I think all of us have echoed similar themes, but as I look out on just this incredible crowd, I want to just take a moment. When we first asked Mimi if she would allow us to honor her, and as Christine said, it took a little while to convince her. She said, it's not me, it's the Delancey family. This is really an honor to the whole family. So all of the Delancey community, past, present, probably some future, please give yourselves a hand right now because this is really for all of you. So I started to think, what can you say about a woman? As Jack said, she is a force of nature. We've all come up with a lot of the same words. There's definitely a theme. But, I look back to the first time I learned about Delancey Street, and I sort of feel I've come full circle because I heard about Delancey from my father, whose favorite song was Impossible Dream. And when I was younger, I had a cousin that had gotten into some trouble, and my father said, the only way I'll help you is if you're willing to go to Delancey Street. And it saved my cousin's life by coming here. I think he was one of the very first residents. Another location. And so I always carry that story with me. So. But I then moved to San Francisco and started paying attention really to what was happening at Delancey Street. And I don't have a lot of heroes or heroines, but I have to say Mimi is one of them. Somebody that I looked at and inspired me by the way that she was making a difference in so many lives, transforming lives, as we've said, has moved the justice movement in such a positive direction. But really just hard to believe what's been accomplished by one person recognizing what we in Judaism have a principle called tikkun olam, which is repair the world. And that's really what Mimi has done. She has helped to repair the world. So thank you for doing that. When came up with the idea for the port to set up a way of honoring Mimi, first off, I do want to thank some of our port staff, but in particular I want to thank Renee Martin, and I'm not sure if I should say this publicly, but she has to do an awful lot of things at the port, a lot of events. I don't think I've ever seen her so excited, so energized, and so focused on something as she was with this. I know it meant something to her, and I think that's the kind of person that Mimi is, engendering that kind of support and enthusiasm from people. But I looked up, before today, I looked up the definition of pathway, and there's the traditional definition of walking along, and then there's education pathways, and that also applies. But another one that we don't think about, but I thought really is also appropriate, is it's connecting neurons from one to another. It's an enzyme catalyst, and it catalyzes a reaction by which one substance is converted to another. So I thought that really is something too, that it's just like the chrysalis becoming a butterfly, so our enzyme catalyzer. So I think the pathway that we've set up here really is a tribute to all of the Delancey Street family, and it's an acknowledgement of what's special about San Francisco, the resiliency, the creating our own families, bringing people together. And as was said earlier, it was Delancey Street and Mimi who had the vision for this part of town. There wasn't much here, and for the port, it made all the difference in the world to be able to enliven this area and have that kind of vision. And so we are so lucky to have a leader who inspires us. I looked up the definition of leader not too long ago. It's somebody who inspires us, but also someone who makes other people feel good about themselves and want to be a part of something. And that really is what Mimi does with Delancey Street. It inspires not only the people living there, but all of San Francisco, and all of us want to be better people, part of the community that we create together and bringing people together. So I'm just going to close on this little story. I remember during the 1989 earthquake when Delancey Street was being built, and I heard that a lot of the people that were working on it were actually on scaffolding and very precarious positions when the earthquake hit. And Delancey Street stood strong and stable, and no one realized that a big earthquake could really happen. They're like, okay, let's get back to work. So I think it's emblematic, again, of the foundation that has been created here, that all of us today are part of, and we really owe it all to Mimi and her vision. So just thank you, and we're so honored to have you here. So I give you Dr. Mimi Silbert and the Mimi Silbert Pathway.
So the first thing I have to say before I say anything else is that every time they say my name, they're saying your names. They don't know your names, so they put it on me. But as we all know, I run my mouth and you do all the work for 44 years. you've done this work. And you've done it believing starting out that you couldn't. You come to Delancey Street thinking, I can't do this, I can't even make one day work. And then that one day becomes 2 years, and all of you have made this possible, and what you don't know is that 20 years from now, there'll be a whole new set of Delancey Street people in some way thanking you for everything that you personally are doing today. So, when they first announced this for me, we had this big honorarium and everybody came, and it was the first time I'd been sick, and it was the first time that I was actually out in public, and I was a little scared, which, you know, I'm not usually a little scared, because usually I come out and I feel everybody is some Delancey Street resident somewhere, and I know them and I love them. But I was a little scared because I hadn't spoken, and it was a beautiful ceremony, and they had all these important people. They had a video, and they all said great things. And a little while after that, the governor put me in the Hall of Fame, and that was quite spectacular, and all these other important people. But now, this is what really matters. Every single person who got up today is someone that I personally love. I don't just mean love. I have loved them from the day I first met them. So Christine was just a little thing when I knew her. And she came and she taught a vocabulary class at Delancey Street, which was called, which I can't say out loud, but think of your games, and think when you're angry, and think of the worst swear word you use, and it was from that to a good vocabulary. That's what I'm about to teach you, and that was its name. And she came to Delancey Street with the same humor and yet belief in what you could do. And from then on, she's been like this. And, you know, Nancy Pelosi has been our friend since we first started out on Broadway in Divisadero in '72, and everybody hated us, and she liked us. But it's so fabulous that her daughter became our friend without having anything to do with her mother. She became our friend through you, through residents, through teaching residents, and that's the thing that makes me so happy. And when we first started building this building, Kim Brandon, weren't you at B of A? When we were first building our building, no one would give us a loan. And we started building it, and everybody turned us down from every bank. And then for some very odd reason, the chairman of the Bank of America found us, talked to us, and gave us a loan that allowed us to build this. And Kim started out there as one of our friends when we didn't know what we were doing and thought we were going to fall apart. Leslie I've known since way before we were building this building, and she talked about tikkun olam. Here is a person who served San Francisco from the day I met her. It didn't matter what she was doing. Like the mayor said, there's a unity, and she was building all of San Francisco, no matter what it was. And then, come to the mayor. I was going to tell the story he told because I remember before he was a mayor, he was fighting for people just like you and how they needed to have a home. So now he's really important, and he brings, I don't know, Pacific. He brings the whole of Pacific over to San Francisco. And isn't that fantastic? But that's not what started it. He started where we first loved him, the same way, fighting for people who don't have a chance. And then we come to the giants. So let's understand this. We were the first people here, and these people hadn't yet developed, but they didn't want the ballpark. I guess they were planning to develop in Lafayette instead of a real city. And we are people, just like all castaways. No one wants us in their neighborhood. And yet we had won over all these people to be here. And the giants came to us that time just like we are. They came saying, your whole neighborhood doesn't like us. We've tried. We're going to be the best neighbors. They talked about all the things that we talk about when we go live in the neighborhood. We're going to be best people there. We're clean. We're honest. We're going to bring the community together. We're going to be... they were running this, and it was... So although they are the champions of the world forever and ever, and will continue to be, when we first found each other, they were homeless. And that's why I love being here. These people love everything you are and everything you're doing and every tunnel struggling thing that you're in the middle of and saying, I won't be able to find the light. And here we are in this fabulous sunlight. The light is coming for you, and if you ever don't believe you can do it, come outside and see Delancey Street, Delancey Street, and Delancey Street written all over this pathway. It is a pathway taking you through that tunnel to an incredible light. And you're fighting for that light. You've won that light. Oh, I have to say one other thing. When the earthquake happened, we were almost finished. And we had made this, look at this when you go to the dining room. We had made a Delancey Street window, which you can see if you look at it. We copied it off a Tiffany window, and we all made it. It's this gorgeous stained glass. And we put that window in early in the morning before the earthquake happened. Not only did we stand emblematic, our residents, all of them, ran up from the outside and the inside and held that window so it would not fall apart. That's who we are. We're fighting for everything good and holding on to decency and integrity. And now they've recognized you, all the new people for doing this. Get very excited. Thank you. Thank you, Delancey Street. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love all of them. And they love you. And here we are, hugging.
Oh, yeah. Okay, now we have a group activity. Everybody behind Mimi for the ribbon cutting.